All right, how's everybody doing? Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. It is Sunday, September 15, 2019, and we are live. Now, as you see, I'm not by myself. So this is a special edition of the African History Network show. Maybe we'll call this the Sisters Edition, all right? So I have a panel of distinguished African-American women, and we're going to have, we should have two more joining us right now. And we're going to discuss this article that came out September 3rd, 2019, about Nicki Minaj opening up about a past abusive relationship. And she said, I used to think love had to hurt. And this is an article I saw from blackamericaweb.com. Fox News has an article. Numerous outlets have articles about this. And I went through and it talked about some tweets that she posted on Sunday, September 3rd, talking about a past relationship, talking about having low self-esteem, different things like this, right? And I saw patterns that I've seen. I saw a pattern I've seen before that African-American women have talked about, okay? So I was going to do a broadcast about this, but I said, you know, I need to get some women on to talk about this also, not just myself. All right, so I want to introduce to you all our panel, and everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in also. So first we have Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeever. Okay, so Avis, I've known Avis for a couple of years now. We met through Roland Martin. We used to guest host Roland's national radio show sometimes. But Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeever is an award-winning author, international speaker, political commentator, and race and gender empowerment expert. As a serial entrepreneur, Avis is the founder of Insight Unlimited, the Exceptional Leadership Institute for Women, and the World Changers Media Mentorship. Dr. Avis organizations offer diversity and inclusion training and consulting, entrepreneurship training, and media training, along with communication strategy development for political candidates and elected officials. Now, also, you'll see Avis every week on Roland Martin Unfiltered. So follow Roland Martin on Facebook and YouTube, and used to watch her on News One Now on TV One with Roland Martin. How you doing, Avis?
I'm doing great. How are you?
All right. And then also in the last couple of weeks, you saw Avis on AM Joy with Joanne Reed on MSNBC as well. So she looks familiar. That's why. All right. So next we have Kenya K. Stevens, of the co-founder of the Juju Mama Love Academy, founder and CEO of the Progressive Love Academy. Okay, Kenya K. Stevens. Now, I've interviewed Kenya a number of different times on the African History Network show as well. So it's good to have you back again, Kenya. And she considers herself a love shaman, Kenya is a relationship expert, love coach, best-selling author, wife, and mother of three. Kenya attended Howard University, HU, in Washington, D.C. Even though I went to a PWI, I still know, you know, Howard University is HU, right? I still know that. And that's the founding, that's where Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated was founded, okay? January 9th, 1914. All right, so she graduated from Howard University in 1997 with a degree in education, child psychology. Not only did she get a degree, but she also met and married a fellow Howard student, Carl Stevens, and I've interviewed both of them before. You may have seen Kenya and Carl on the Dr. Phil TV show. Okay, Dr. Phil, the psychiatrist. Yeah, Dr. Phil. You may have heard her on the Michael Baisden radio show as well. Okay, now they live in the mountains of North Carolina, raising two of their three children while supporting couples worldwide as expert relationship consultants. So we want to welcome Kenya K. Stevens. How you doing, Kenya?
Thank you. Good to be here, Michael. What's going on?
Oh, busy. Everything going on. All right. Everything's going on. And Kenya has a new book also she's going to tell us about as well tonight also. And then we have Kenda Bale. Now, Kenda is a highly esteemed intuitive coach who utilizes her gifts of clairaudience and clairvoyance to support her clients in various areas of life as a spiritual nutritionist. Her coaching centerpiece is the Joy Factor, which is a spiritual nutrition system that helps people cultivate and maintain joy as the foundation for all experiences in life. There are never problems, only growth opportunities. She is also on staff as a feminine power coach with the Progressive Love Academy, that's with Kenya K. Stevens, and supports couples in fostering healthy primary relationships alongside her husband, Sinbi. How you pronounce the last name?
Akau.
Akau. Okay, AKU. Okay, how you doing, Kenda?
I'm doing excellent.
All right, excellent, excellent. And we have a couple other sisters who are going to join us shortly as well. Okay, so you know, I read this article and I posted on my Facebook page a few days ago. Who wanted to be on the panel to discuss this, right? So 2 days went by and I maybe got like 2 responses. So I said, okay, nobody wants to be on. So then I checked back and I got like about 15, 20 responses. Then I had too many people. So so then I had to go through and cut the list down. But I'm glad you all responded. So what I want to do is, for the sake of the audience, I want to quickly go over this article and then get from you all what your initial responses were when you first heard about this, okay? So very quickly, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna post a link to this article. This is from blackamericaweb.com, all right? And I'm gonna post a link to this article here on the thread of the broadcast so people can read it as well. And this came out September 3rd, 2019. It's entitled, Nicki Minaj opens up about past abusive relationship. I used to think love had to hurt. And in the article, they talk about, let's see, in a series of tweets on Sunday, September 3rd, the hip hop star told her fans to offer, quote unquote, sound advice to anyone they knew or anyone they know in a toxic relationship instead of mocking them and passing judgment. Okay. So here's some of the tweets that she posted. She said, when you see a woman in a toxic relationship, rather than laugh and say mean things, try to offer sound advice from your heart and root for her to learn her worth. We all have been there. She said, I saw my parents fight and, oh, now pay attention to this, everybody. I saw my parents fight and argue nonstop and never divorce. So I thought this was normal behavior. All right. She went on to say, I really used to think love had to hurt. I really used to think love had to hurt. So I could never look down on anyone else. We are merely human. It's not easy to leave. It's not easy to leave, especially in the world of Instagram, where all people want to do is post relationship goal pics for clout and attention. A man should make you feel safe, not afraid. It goes on to say, I remember being so afraid to speak because I never knew when that person would be in a particular mood and I could maybe say one wrong thing that would get me hit. Okay, so she's talking about being in a past abusive relationship. And we know she's about to get married as well. They talk about this in the article also. So she went on to say, so the difference you see in me now is that feeling when a woman feels lifted up, safe, appreciated, and unconditionally loved. But I first had to learn how to love myself. If you would not let a man treat your mother, your sister, or best friend like that because you love them, then you wouldn't let a man treat you like that because you love you. This is not about judging. We judge too much. Lift them up. All right. And then she goes through, and you may have seen this. She goes through and lists signs to know if someone you know is in an abusive relationship. A man who loves you does not humiliate you on social media, does not beat you, does not cheat on you, does not call you out of your name, put you down to lower your self-esteem due to his own insecurities, does not hide his phone, passwords, whereabouts, etc. Okay, so let's start with Avis, and then we'll go around. So when you first heard about this, what were your initial thoughts, Avis?
I think my initial thought was that the particular factor that you first paused on, and that was her description that she had seen her parents model toxic behavior.
Right.
And therefore, it framed her perception of what love was at a very, very young age. And I just found that to be so honest, but also so tragic. Because no one teaches you this. There are no courses in this. And it makes sense that if you are seeing that growing up, it's going to take a minute for you to sort of course correct as you mature and become a full woman and understand what your standards are going to be. I know that personally, I was very fortunate in that I grew up in a very loving household, and I saw parents who loved each other dearly, and were in a beautiful marriage for over 50 years until my father passed. But I will say that having that standard, to be perfectly honest, made it easier for me to make the decision to pursue my divorce, because I knew that I knew what I saw growing up.
Right.
And I also knew that for my children, I did not want them to look at the relationship that my marriage had evolved into and model that when they became adults. So for me, I knew that I was very cognizant of the example that I was providing for my children, because I knew what real love looked like by remembering what it was like to grow up in a household that was full of love.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Excellent. And I'm coming to Kenya just 1 second, but the article goes on to say, in a 2018 Apple Music documentary, Nicki Minaj admits an abusive relationship left her with low self-esteem, and it affected her creativity. She said, quote, "Who was I gonna inspire when I had nothing in me to give? I let one human being make me so low that I didn't even remember who I was. I was scared to get in the studio because I didn't believe in myself." Okay. So Kenya, what were your initial thoughts? And you deal with relationships, you deal with couples and things like this. What were your initial thoughts, Kenya?
Well, my initial thoughts were that I was glad that Nicki Minaj was speaking up and speaking out. One of the things in my advocacy is really sharing your story and letting everybody know that this is not abnormal. The Western culture is dysfunctional. It's not this family or that family or this family. It's all of our families, rich, poor, black, white, whatever you are. This culture is a dysfunctional culture. So, in order for any of us to create what we desire, first you have to speak about what's going on and own it and be in it without judging yourself about it. So I love that she was able to do that. That's going to free up so many more women who don't talk about it because they think, oh, this is only happening to me and nobody else around me everybody else is normal and I'm crazy. That's never true. Right. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is that, wow, now you give those women who the floodgates are open, you give them the opportunity to take courses. We provide courses on how to as Avis said, course correct. And it requires reprogramming that hard drive. And that's what it sounds like Nicki Minaj is doing. Hopefully she's doing that, because if she does not reprogram, she will get into the next relationship and it will be the same, because it is a program running in your mind. It's something you learned in youth, and it's what you're continuing to create. So hopefully she will go ahead and show everybody how she course corrects. That's
absolutely. And what's your website, Kenya, also?
Progressive Love Academy. We have a process called lacing where we support people every day, men and women, because men have been equally traumatized in family scenarios. Right. And they're equally creating these traumatizing relationships as women.
ProgressiveLoveAcademy.com.
ProgressiveLoveAcademy.com. Yes.
Okay. All right. And Avis, what's your website address as well?
Sure. AvisJones-DeWeever.com, or you can go to BlackWomenLead.com.
All right. So Kenda, so what were your initial thoughts in hearing about this? And you work at the Progressive Love Academy as well. You deal with couples and relationships. What were your initial thoughts?
Yes. One of the main things that struck me was the idea that she felt that her friends and family would be laughing and joking at her. And that really, out of everything, and what she looks like on social media. Right. We have this, again, idea of how we should look, but it's not how we always feel. And I think that her own shame that she felt and the idea of her losing her self-esteem was really more so about her not really knowing who she was outside of a man or relationship, because it had become her covering for so many years and relationship, because she saw that at home.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. And you know, I'm going to segue, and I'm going to connect this to Lil Kim also. And this is not an attack. So the reason, one of the reasons why I want to do this is because I have a 2-year-old daughter. Okay, and this is my first child. So people find that I'm 48, like this is my first child, right? So, but you know, having a daughter has not changed the way that I think. It's confirmed the way that I think. All right. So I understand, and then we connect this to surviving R. Kelly, and we connect this to the study that came out from Georgetown University dealing with adultification bias when it comes to African American girls. All right. May 17, 2019, Huffington Post Black Voices had an article. Black girls detail harsh consequences of being seen as older than white peers. And it talks about, this is a follow-up to a 2017 study, and it talks about the adultification of Black girls. And they talked about how African-American girls are seen to need less nurturing, less support, and less comfort. And that young Black girls are seen to know more about sex than white girls, okay? And when you have someone like Nicki Minaj, who is a multimillionaire, extremely successful, has Grammys, things like this, and she's talking about these same issues that just everyday African American women and girls deal with. You know, I think that I hope this is something that can cause a lot of healing for African American girls and women as well. What are your thoughts on that? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go with let's start with Avis.
You know, it is, first of all, the thing is, this is something that impacts every woman. It can impact a woman no matter her quote unquote level of success in her career, socioeconomic status, any of that. But it's also interesting that you talk about the study around the adultification of girls. You know, in terms of my background, I've done a lot of research on Black girls as well. And all of that is true. And it ends up putting particularly younger girls into very dangerous situations because they tend to be more likely to end up in relationships with much older, like men, not like boys, but with men.
Right.
And that puts them at greater potential exposure to abusive relationships. That could be physically abusive, that could be mentally abusive, that could be very controlling. It also increases their exposure to potentially venereal diseases. And so I just hope that as a community, we get that our girls need special protection. We need to put our arms around our girls and understand how to, from the very beginning, make them very cognizant of their worth, but also help them be literally a protective force for them as they navigate the world, because the world does hold them to different standards that end up being very dangerous for them. And they perpetuate myths that are not true. Like, for example, what you just mentioned about the myth that Black girls know more about sex. The reality is that white girls tend to be more sexually active than Black girls. But this perception about Black girls, it puts them at greater risk of sexual harassment. Right. Once again, not only by boys, but by grown men. So we have to hold ourselves, our community, accountable for treating our girls as the girls that they are and not as the women that they perceive them to be.
Right, exactly. And I guarantee you that perception, I'm gonna come to you just a second, Kenya, and then how you doing, Kateria? We're gonna come to you in just a minute, Kateria, and I'll introduce you. And then, okay, Sashat, okay, we got you on also, good. And then when you get ready, just unmute your mic, Sashat. I guarantee you when you study this, that is the way African-American women are viewed as knowing more about sex, things like that, that is a direct legacy of slavery.
Absolutely.
And the molestation of African-American women, the breeding, things like that, that's a direct, that is a direct legacy of slavery. Not only that, like some of you all saw, some of you that watch me, you saw the video I did a few months ago dealing with how Professor Stephanie Jones Rogers out of California, she has a book that came out in February called They Were Her Property. They Were Her Property. And this deals with the history of white women owning slaves. And she documents how from 1850 to 1860, about 40% of slave owners in this country were white women, which contradicts a lot of the research that we saw in the 60s and 70s that said that white women had a very small role in slavery. But she also talked about how white women orchestrated the breeding of African American women as well to increase her wealth and property. Okay, go ahead, Kenya.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at the age of 13, young girls who were enslaved Africans would start to be bred, you know, and start to have children. So, of course, that perception comes from that legacy of slavery. The biggest thing, or one thing that we always forget as a nation and as a people, is that the biggest loss when slavery ended was not necessarily the loss of human capital for work, but it was the loss of human capital for sex. Sex is the number one need of all humans on this planet, the number one desire and need. So when you lose human
I ain't gonna comment, but go ahead. You're right, but I ain't gonna comment. But you're right, but I ain't gonna.
I mean, we can just take that from nature in terms of the need to reproduce. Okay, let's talk about it from that standpoint.
No, I agree.
Okay, so you know,
we go back, you know, so.
So I mean, what you have now is a society of people who have lost contact with their sexual selves. Right. So you know, when we talk about healing the African American woman and supporting women like Nicki Minaj and the others, it's really ownership of your sexuality and ownership of your sexual self. One thing that they did with African American women is try to suppress the sexuality piece after that era was over in order to protect us. That wasn't very protective because we are sexual beings and we love sex. And so what I did with my daughter, who's 18, is I supported her in understanding, A, that she's a sexual being, that sex is okay, that she has an authentic yes and an authentic no. And if I only teach her to find her no, she will never know what her authentic yes is. And so she'll be less powerful in the presence of men. Right. She won't understand what she wants truly because she, you know, we teach the girls don't have any desire. Well, that's not true either. And that is one of the things that causes us to set up for what Nicki Minaj went through.
Right. And I'm gonna come to you just a second, Kenda. When you go back and look at history, even before the women's rights movement and things like this, because the sexuality of white women in this country was being suppressed as well. But when you go back and look at the Salem witch trials, and you look at women being burned at the stakes for being a witch, when you look at how did they consider what a witch was, one of the things they considered being a witch was a woman having an orgasm.
Right. Orgasmic meant you were a witch.
Yeah. So so this is historical. Okay. Right. Go ahead, Kenda, and then I'm going to come to Kateria and then Sashat. Go ahead, Kenda.
Yes. I want to co-sign 120 to what Kenya said. One of the things that we do not give young women is power. Mm-hmm. We tell them out of the womb that they are victims. They are endangered. And they should be protected and kept safe, but it is because they are powerful. A lot of times women do not know, and they are raised that the man chooses her. That is disempowering out the gate.
Right.
And for second, our mothers and our grannies and our aunties have not been honest about their pain to us. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know if it's that shame that Nicki felt that also was passed down to her. But what if auntie or mama would have talked to their daughters about what they had gone through? So as we talk about keeping them safe, we need to safeguard their power that is growing inside of them. That's where I think that safety should come from.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. So we're joined by Kateria as well. Let me flip back over here. Let me see. I got a bunch of screens open. All right. So Kateria Manning. How you doing, Kateria? Okay. Hold on. Let me see. Are you muted? You sound like you're muted, Kateria.
I'm not muted.
Okay. Now, okay. I hear you a little bit now. All right, so Kateria is an astrologist. You see her videos sometimes on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. She lives in California. And she is a student of astrology as well. And she's been in the professional world of astrology for 9 years. She primarily uses the tropical zodiac, but also uses sidereal charts as well. She specializes in life path and purpose, health and wellness, natal birth charts, compatibility, relationships, and more. Okay, so and then let's see, last year, Kateria and her sister herb alchemist, Brittany, Brittany may not be able to get on tonight, they organized the Return of the Gods in San Diego, California as well. So I was one of the honorees there. Professor Kaba Kamene was there as well. Rod Digger, Lord Jamar from Brand Nubians also. So they put on a fantastic event. All right, so Kateria, what were your initial thoughts when you heard about this story about revelations from Nicki Minaj about past abusive relationships? A past abusive relationship one, not many.
Right. So first things first, I was not aware that she was in an abusive relationship until you actually notified me of this stuff.
Okay.
The situation. And what I just want to share is that I am happy that she's coming out and speaking about it, because so many of our women face traumatic abusive relationships, even including myself. I was in a couple of abusive relationships. And is exactly what all of these amazing, beautiful women before me have just stated. I'm like, I don't even need to say anything, because you guys really spoke my heart and spoke my mind, including you, Michael. And I'm just so grateful that we're having this panel and having this build on this particular matter, because it is a very serious thing. Now, when it comes to myself, I feel that many women, we are in so much of a competition with one another when it comes to these relationships with our men, because so many of our men have been killed off. So many of them are in jail. So many of them are gay, or even dating other people, or even, claiming that they do not like Black women. They're not attracted to Black women. So when we get into a relationship with a Black man, we want to hold on to this Black man as he is a treasure, despite anything that he may do, cheating, beating, anything, and it's kind of like, I call them at least relationships. Well, at least he didn't sock me in my face 3 times. At least he got a job. At least he got a car. At least he is straight. At least he is a man. And it's really sad, that we put ourselves in these predicaments to grab onto anything and to maintain and try to hold on to that relationship when we are being hurt, despite the quote unquote love that we are claiming that we have within these unions. And I think that this topic is definitely something that we need to speak about more, including, the molestation. Is claimed that 90-something% of young Black women have been raped or molested. And I really think that that number is higher.
It's about by age 18, I think it was one study said close to 80% by age 18 had been molested. I'll pull it up. I have an article dealing with it. I'll pull it.
Well, I mean, within my circle of women, and I have a pretty large circle, it's been 98% have been either raped or molested, and I feel that with us being raped, molested, abused by our fathers, neglected, seeing, the cycle of abuse within our family households, that we, we take on certain things and we accept certain things, and we accept more trouble within our unionships than people of other ethnicities and other cultures. Not to say that other races don't have any issues within their relationships. They absolutely do as well. But we tend to put up with a lot more, because another thing is that I tend to see that Black women are forgiving or understanding of Black men. They're like, of the Black man struggle. Well, it's really hard for Black men. They can't get ahead in society the way that they want to. And, there's a hunt out for them to be locked up. So we kind of put up with their mental traumas and allow ourselves to being punching bags, to those traumas, and try to even be counselors to it. But yeah, I'm just happy that Nicki is speaking out about this, but it definitely is a reflection of this current relationship that she is in now. And it shows that she's not fully over, the trauma that she has experienced in this past union, but also it just looks like she's trying to hold on to a sense of what she's used to, you know, from where she grew up and, you know, and things that she saw around her, and just trying to stay true to that identity. And as, you know, you mentioned with my bio, with me being an astrologer, I've been studying astrology for over 22 years, been doing it professionally for about 9. What I wanted to say is that Nicki Minaj really needs a reading. Beyonce do too, but that's another story. Because according to what I know, Nicki is a Capricorn rising, and I could have told her, like, you know, this is a time for you to really sit back and prioritize yourself and allow yourself to mature. And she could have handled everything that she's going through a lot better if she would be more aware of her alignment with the stars, because Capricorn risings, they're going through a cycle of Saturn being in their first house, causing them to prioritize their lives in a fashion where they are seen as more respectable and more professional, and they have to conduct themselves in certain fashions. And she's going completely on the lower end, but that's a whole nother story. I appreciate getting this opportunity to share my sentiments on this.
No problem. And she's about to get married in the next 80 days also. So very quickly, I'm gonna come to you just a second, Sashat, very quickly. So it's 60% of the article I was citing is from WXYZ.com, Channel 7 here in Detroit. Surviving R. Kelly sheds light on bigger issue. Black women raped at higher rates, but report less. Black women raped at higher rates and report less. And what happened was they went to a crisis center for women who were victims of rape and things like this. And they talked to one of the counselors there. And she said that 60% of Black girls are sexually abused by the time they turn 18. Another study said like 40%, this one they were cited said 60%. I posted the link here on the thread of the broadcast so people can check this out. Okay, so Sashat is a 26-year-old artist and mompreneur from Detroit. As an artist, she encourages self-love, motivation, healing through all of her art mediums. She is a full-time fashion designer, seamstress, and Afrobeats dance teacher. You can tell she probably designed her clothing because she looks so fantastic. Whether it be fashion design, which promotes body positivity and confidence to upcoming models, or Afrobeats dance, creating awareness and mindfulness to youth and learning students. She's always encouraging others to be the best version of themselves daily, and to live with love and light. Okay, so how you doing, Sasha?
I'm doing good.
All right. Thanks for coming on tonight. So very quickly, what were your initial thoughts when you first heard about this dealing with Nicki Minaj?
When I first heard about when I read the article when you sent it, I thought it was interesting coming from Nicki Minaj, first of all. Mm-hmm. Growing up in high school, I was like a huge Nicki Minaj fan.
Right.
I thought it was interesting that she actually opened up about it, and I'm actually appreciative at the fact that she's opened up about it, because as an artist, she has a very influential platform, and her platform is so huge, and she's like, believe it or not, she's a role model to a bunch of younger girls, like teenagers and high schoolers and things like that. So I think that for her to open up about her situation, it can start, it raises the vibration to be able to change, younger girls, their perspective on actually being in abusive relationships. When I was 18, just a personal story, I was in an abusive relationship, and I really didn't have anyone to talk to or, open up about it. And as I got older, I had to go through my own healing journey. So sometimes we look at, like, with social media being such a big platform, we actually really do look up to these artists, and we're always checking to see, like, okay, what are they doing? What are they doing? Because they have a major influence on our culture. So I think that it's amazing that she actually opened up about it, because she potentially could have sparked something for our young girls and people in our community to be comfortable to talking about their abusive relationships more, and even their trauma. So I was appreciative of it, and just shedding light on actually being in toxic situations.
Right.
That's nobody should ever be in a toxic relationship. And with me growing and me learning that, I definitely think that she's headed in the right direction, because we're so used to seeing her talking about, you know, what she talked about in her rap music and different stuff like that. So for her to shift the
Usually
vibration,
it's not positive. If you, and I'm gonna let you continue. I encourage parents to go to azlyrics.com. The letter A, the letter Z, azlyrics.com. And any of these songs, type in the name of the song. It gives you the uncensored lyrics, so you can see what your children are being programmed with. Seriously,
yes.
and research her songs and Cardi B songs also. Go ahead, Sashat.
Because it's almost like as if, like, you know, in her music, not that she promotes that kind of relationship, but she before this came out, to me it seemed as if she leaned more towards the promoting that culture of, like, you know, you would be surprised about on how many people think it's actually cute to be in like abusive relationships, and oh, my man got me in check and this and this and that, and I like when he grabbed me by the neck and he roughed me up and different stuff like that. So I'm just appreciative that she shifted the consciousness, and hopefully she continues to go in the right direction with it.
Right. And very quickly, I'm gonna come to Avis in just a minute here, and then go to Kenya. On an episode of Good Times, and see, Good Times is like, it's like almost another world, because it's back in the early 70s, right? So what Good Times did was, coming from Norman Lear, what Good Times did was it reflected what was going on in society, the women's liberation movement, all different types of things like this. But there was an episode where Florida went to this women's support group that Willona would go to. And you had, what's her name? Weeping Wanda. Wanda was there, the older lady. Wanda, Helen Martin. Helen Martin goes on to be on 227, plays role, Pearl Shea on 227. But she said that if my husband didn't hit me on Saturday, I wouldn't. If my husband didn't hit me on one day, I wouldn't know such and such or something like that. But it was a joke. It's about domestic violence, but it was a joke, and the audience laughs, right? So, and this is like in the early 70s. So, but these are some of the conception and social norms back at that time. So very quickly, and I want to get you to comment. I'm going to go back around and get you to comment on this, Avis, very quickly here. Back in June of 2018, there was a interview that Nicki Minaj did with Elle magazine. And AtlantaBlackStar.com had an article about this called "Nicki Minaj Says She Feels Responsible for Girls Selling Sex and Creating Modern Day Prostitutes." Okay. Now, I talked about this when this came out, but in the interview, she said, quote, "I love being sexy. I'm never going to stop being an exhibitionist. I don't really know how to say that without being offensive. I don't really know how to say that without being offensive. Maybe I was naive, but I didn't realize how many girls were modern day prostitutes." Okay. Whether you are a stripper or whether you are an Instagram girl, these girls are so beautiful and they have so much to offer. Okay. But I'm like, do you actually like listen to your own lyrics? You know, but look, go to AZ Lyrics and look at the lyrics to Anaconda. Because when you look at the lyrics to Anaconda, in the song, she talks about having sex with a guy because he sells drugs. I ain't making this up. Go study these lyrics, right?
Sure.
Avis, let me get your any additional responses to this.
Well, see, this is probably one of the reasons why I'm still an old school rap person. To me, you know, if it didn't happen in the 80s or the 90s, I am like, my rap golden days and golden years were, you know, the highlight of Public Enemy, KRS-One, all the way up to including, I see, Ice Cube after he left NWA. Okay, right. So that's like the that's the era that I live in, and it's precisely because of that. Honestly, I believe that what's happened to hip hop since then, starting really, quite frankly, with NWA specifically, and moving forward, was a shift to the music that seemed to be very, I would say, hostile and abusive, specifically to Black women. lyrics that seem to commoditize Black women and refer to Black women in very demeaning and hypersexualized ways. And ultimately, it's evolved to a space where, in order for today, like even back in that era, the era that I like, you have a queen. I can't imagine Queen Latifah saying stuff like that.
Right, right.
But in terms of how it's evolved today, it seems as if for a female rapper to break through, she understands that she too has to play into this hypersexualized, stereotypical, hot and trop mama stereotype of the Black woman in order to be played on the radio, right? And so, it is, I find it amazing to say that, you don't think you those lyrics are there because that's what it takes today, unfortunately, for a lot of these rappers, and particularly female rappers, but to push through. That to me is a problem because I cannot imagine, I see this sort of fire, this very sort of negative and damaging trend perpetuated on Black women in particular in a way that I could not imagine being perpetuated among white women.
Exactly.
And it is something that has made a lot of people rich. And most of them aren't even the ones that you're seeing who are the performers. They're the people behind the scenes that look nothing like us.
Right, right. And I'm coming to you just a second, Kenya. If we look at the article from AtlantaBlackStar.com, citing the article from Elle magazine in June 2018, she went on to say in that interview, quote, "But I started finding out that you give them a couple $1,000 and you can have sex with them. I was like, yikes. It's just sad that they don't know their worth. It makes me sad as a woman, and it makes me sad that maybe I've contributed to that in some way." So if we just look at just a little bit of the lyrics from Anaconda, in the song Anaconda, she said, this dude named Michael used to ride motorcycles, penis bigger than, she used a different word, penis bigger than a tower. I ain't talking about Eiffels. Real country ass N-word, let me play with his rifle. Pete Word put his ass to sleep, now he's calling me NyQuil. Now that bang, 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 I let him hit it because he slang cocaine. This is what she said in the lyrics. But now you're surprised that girls that listen to this are having sex for money. Go ahead, Kenya.
Well, I'm just frankly, I'm disappointed in us in that, we do critique the culture. We do critique the lyrics, but what is the new sexuality? When you have a woman like me who steps in to say, well, look, this is the new sexuality. It's about healing. Sex is about manifestation. Sex is about connection. Sex is about, sex is who we are, is what we are. We love it as a species. You have to replace it with something. I look at Maya Angelou, Oprah Winfrey, all the women who, Queen Afua, any woman. Where is their new concept of sexuality? And when I step out there with the new concept of sexuality, where sexuality is free, we are designed as goddesses. What everybody say, well, what is that? Well, we don't know if we can take that serious. But you are critiquing a dysfunctional mode of sexuality. It's in the music, it's in the television, it's everywhere. It is the culture, it's Western culture. But what's your new culture? What's the solution? That's all I work on in the lab. So I don't know what this discussion is about. I can't even see that. We're building the new culture. The new culture is where woman and woman's sexuality is beautiful. And I want to choose which man I desire and how I want to be treated. I choose that and I put that into my mind and I manifest that. That's my job. That's what I can do as a creatrix, as a woman.
Right,
so
but
I don't know where everybody's at with this.
But that's not necessarily, that's not what is new to Western culture. But
it's not new to, it's indigenous. This is indigenous. Right. So I'm wondering why women of African descent, like Queen Afua or any of the others who are in charge of the psyche of Black women at this time, where's the new sexuality?
Right. So it deals with a different understanding of sexuality, but it deals with the understanding really coming from African cosmology.
Because I just don't feel that way. Me and my people and my children and my friends and all my girls, we're not even in that environment to where that would be the case. We're choosing men. Men are not choosing us. We have sex because we want to. Sex is for us. We don't give ourselves to anyone. We're receiving during sex. These are all new concepts that, like, you know, that's what the girls, to me, and women need to understand, because then you leave the whole thing behind.
Right. And I'm gonna come to you just a second, Kenda. But when we deal with sex, when we deal with it from a tradition African cultural perspective,
right?
See, in this society, we deal with it just on a physical level. Right. For sex, we just deal with it on a physical level, and it's genitalia. Where when we deal with from a traditional African cultural perspective, it's a spiritual level for healing, deal with the chakras, different things. It's entirely different, but it comes from a different cultural foundation, a different understanding of the world, the universe, the cosmology, which deals with.
Let's do it, Michael. Michael, what's the holdup? We don't like what we see. We've got to implement something new. I started that 14 years ago. Where's everybody? Let's go.
So when you started, and I'm going to come to you in just a second, Kenda, then we'll go to Kateria and we'll go to Sashat. When you started this 14 years ago, what was it? What was it? Now, what we say may go outside the circumference of some people's awareness. Just because you never heard it before or disagree with it does not mean it's not true. It just means you have to do some research to understand what you're talking about. What was it that you started 14 years ago?
Teaching
Kenda?
about Tantra, teaching sexual empowerment for women so that you're above the vibration of dealing with rape. Even I've been raped. My first sexual experience was rape, but I don't look at it as that from the plateau that I'm at now. I look at it as a learning experience to show me about the Western culture and what I need to personally implement on the planet. Sanity. You understand? So it was a learning, it was a teaching mechanism for me. It was not a travesty. I'm not a victim, you see? So it's what we started 14 years ago was teaching people about Tantra, teaching women that we choose men, teaching women that no, you're not stuck with no man. I have 10 men. Okay? Teaching women that it's not about the whole community of men should be taking care of you and your children. Teaching women a whole new way, but that was frowned upon. But guess what? Where is it now? What's the new solution? What's everybody gonna do? Because we're already doing this. So
Tantra has become more and more popular over the years.
Yes.
A lot of people still don't know what it is.
Yes.
Just tell people briefly, give us like the 60-second or maybe 120-second version.
Tantra is the other 90% of sex that pornography doesn't show. Pornography shows 10% of sex. What I'm doing with you all right now is having sex. You can feel me. I'm entering you. I'm penetrating you. You understand a conversation is sex. Sex is not just vagina and
genitalia.
So that's Tantra. It's the other 90% of sex.
Right. And what happens is as more people consume pornography, it distorts the relationship between men and women.
That's right.
It gives us false concepts of what our body should look like, false concepts of what sex should be like as well. Okay. Kenda, go ahead with your response, Kenda. Now I'll come to Kateria and Sashat.
Again, the power of your femininity. And what I heard her say was that she did not truly understand the power that women have with their sexuality. Mm-hmm. And I think that we are very hard on Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, but some of us on this line used to bop our heads and dance to Lil Kim on a regular basis. That is one of the reasons why we dealt with so many pain, because our parents didn't keep it real and tell us. And our parents listened to who? Millie Jackson. Y'all remember her?
Yeah.
She talks about slow tongue, feeling bitchy.
Yeah.
Long stroking. And grandmama used to listen to Ruth Brown back in the 40s and the 50s. And one of her most famous songs was, "If I can't sell it, I'ma sit on it." Ooh. So this whole empowerment of women expressing their feminine power through music and imagery is not new. What is unfortunately still not happening is that the women, though, that we can touch and feel, are not teaching us what that power is. The only power that women are taught is that it is wholesale. And you can take that however you want. Wholesale,
right?
You get a lot for a smaller amount, or whole as in an instrument to sell yourself for love when you have power. And I just can't emphasize enough the hypocrisy that we continue to also get with the teaching. I listen to Lil Kim. I still do. My mama used to listen to Millie Jackson. I would sneak and listen to it. But I better not listen to it. But why, mama, you listen to it? And her mama listened to Ruth Brown talking about she'd rather sit on it if she can't sell it. Come on, let's not be phony anymore.
Right. And just so people understand, this is not an attack on, I'm not doing an attack on Nicki Minaj.
Oh no, I know that.
But I study this stuff. So I'm looking at what she's saying, but I'm also looking at the effect that her lyrics have on people, because I've been studying hip hop and I'm 48. So I remember Rapper's Delight first came out. I've seen the whole, and I know Speech from Arrested Development. I know Professor Griff. I've interviewed Brother Jay from the X Clan. I've interviewed Isis from the X Clan. I've interviewed what's his name from Poor Righteous Teachers, Wise Intelligent. So I've seen all of this totally change. I'm gonna come to Kenda just a second here, but also there was I talked about this in the past. July 3rd, 2018, there was an article from blackden.com, and The Root also had an article about this. This was about the Madame Tussauds wax statue of Nicki Minaj in Las Vegas. And I spoke out about this when this happened, because the statue they had of her was her. This is not an attack on her. People don't misunderstand me. But this was a hypersexualization of African American women. They had her bent over, showing her behind. Now, none of the other statues of women were like this, but they showed people, you know, you go through and you look at the statue, they showed people humping her statue, dehumanizing her, right? And so, and these were Black people doing this. So it's something wrong up here with us as well. Okay. Now I disagreed with now I know she posed for the statue, things like this. Somebody should have said, don't do this. But at the same time, that don't mean you should stand there humping the statue. And
we're not talking about the power. We're still the power. The power, just because there's power, some people are still not going to respect it. They're going to fear it. And the biggest way that people show their fear is with disrespect. Right.
Because you only protect what you respect. You only protect what you respect. Go ahead, Kateria. Then we're going to come to Sashat, and then we're going to go back to Avis. And then we're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. Go ahead, Kateria. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, excellent. So, I mean, I definitely have mixed feelings on how the conversation is kind of going. I don't necessarily agree with being overtly sexualized, because it does take away from other great attributes of the woman. I did come up in the era of listening to the sexual lyrics, and I was actually very hurt by the misogynistic lyrics, especially from the song that, you know, Anaconda was actually kind of mixed and mastered from. I like
Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot. Yeah,
and because I am a very slender Black woman. I am actually Panamanian. I have a Panamanian physique. So hearing the lyrics of the rap music, I was, you know, diminished. My beauty was diminished. Besides my face and my lips, my beauty was diminished because I didn't look like the quote unquote regular Black woman. And this caused me to have so much pain, to the point where when I was 24 years old, I went to try to get plastic surgery to appeal more to the Black men. Luckily, the doctors did not, you know, perform the surgery on me. They felt kind of weird about the situation, but it's just so devastating, because I'm way more than my sexuality. I have a whole mind. I predict the future. future. You know, I can see things beyond this realm. I connect to people who have transitioned. I predict death for people and help them, you know, even get through that process within their lives. And even her latest song that I do actually listen to Nicki Minaj's music because I like the beat and it gets me like pumped up. And, you know, my ego gets to show itself a little bit when I'm driving my car. But Hot Girl Summer, I predicted for my client that he would be working with a major female artist. And he's actually the producer of Hot Girl Summer after I made that prediction for him. So that's my song now. That's literally my song, you know. But I don't agree with the fact that our sexuality is, you know, our power or what have you. It's not our only power. It's not our only power. We have power in other ways. And because I don't want my daughter to put her sex out there on the forefront because it could, you know, breed predators, and it could have her so focused on that part of herself when we have other powers as women. Because yes, the vagina is very powerful and I'm very skilled with mines, and I trained it to do some tricks too. But nevertheless, you know, the woman is not just her vagina. The woman, right, you know, she has so many capabilities. I was speaking to a friend just the other night when we went out to see Michael Collier's live one-man show, and we were in Hollywood and we saw these guys and these girls on this like little truck thing, and you had to pedal in order for it to move, and only the guys were pedaling. And my friend says, why aren't the girls pedaling as well? And I'm like, because they're women. And he said, well, you know, they got feet too, they could be pedaling. I said, you got men, and most people don't understand the nature of woman. We are not as physical or physically strong as men because we have a strength in other areas. We have intangible strength. While they may be pedaling and, you know, getting them along, those women are protecting them from outside sources, from police and all kinds of other things. Just like having a cat is a very female animal. Even if it's a boy, people say, oh, the cats, they don't want to do anything, they just want to eat your food. But cats protect your body from being possessed by other entities. You know, cats will help repair your heartbeat and all the tissues in your body. And that's what a woman is able to do just by her presence, just by her energy. Like Juju Mama was saying, like, we're not, you know, physically having sex, being penetrated, but we're having this engagement, and it's you know, it is the sexual experience. And we need to, you know, be seen more for our power in other ways, not just our sexuality. And I do feel that Black women have been overly sexualized, and I do feel that diminishes the respect that we get from other people. We are either overly sexualized or we're the angry Black woman. Or if, you know, we're considered whitewashed or what have you. And yeah, so I am happy though, nevertheless, to just kind of, close out, I'm really happy that there are many female artists that are coming up and kind of changing the industry. The industry needs to be thrown in the trash. You know, we have amazing women like Sarah, the MC of Atlanta, Georgia, very entertaining, very beautiful, very powerful with her lyrics. We have the incredible Herb Alchemist, who is also very sexy, very intellectual. We have the great Soleil doing her works, you know, in hip hop, and we even have Nilam and so many others, Mova, Queen. There's so many, Oshun, you know, and so we do need a new representation of the Black woman, because I feel that when we have this new representation, our men will start to respect us more, other people will start to respect us more, and they will not just look at us to be sexually powerful, but we're powerful in other ways, you know, and right. We will be seen more for that, and that would be honored. I feel that I have people that call my phone praying to me or send me messages praying to me, like, we're dealing with the hurricane, please, Goddess, please protect us. You know what I'm saying? I feel that when we have these other hip hop artists speaking this knowledge and putting the power out there, people will start to respect the Black woman as the goddess of the cosmic universe that she is, that people won't be trying to kill our sons and rape our daughters and hold us back from opportunities. They will be giving us these opportunities because that they will know that we are way bigger beyond sexuality or this physical realm. So I do encourage anybody out there to listen to these women that I just mentioned and get past, just expressing our sexuality, because you don't even got to show your body and your booty and do all of this to be sexy. Being sexy is an energy, and you could be that with still being conservative and reserved. And it goes back to the whole saying that, things are treasured when they're harder to get to. Your titties is all out and your whole ass is all out and your pussy is all out. You're not treasured. But that pearl, that covered woman, that look at Felicia Rashad compared to Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And all these
Felicia
women.
Go ahead.
Exactly, compared to the more reserved. But that doesn't mean that Felicia Rashad is not sexy. We all know
she is, and she's like 70. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Never mind. Go ahead.
Preserved her sexuality, so I just want us, yes, the yoni is powerful. We're sexual creatures. We love sex, and it's an amazing thing, but we do need to change this space. And I think that it will change the paradigm of just how everyone is looking at us as women.
Okay, very good. And I'm going to come to Sashat in just a minute, and I'm going to interject Nicki Minaj, go back around for probably one last round, and then we'll wrap up. I don't think they were saying that the sexuality is the only power. I don't think they were saying that's the only power.
Oh, I know that they weren't. No,
oh,
I
okay.
know that.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Okay.
Oh, no, I love everything that everybody is saying.
Oh, okay.
But the hip hop, the women in hip hop, they promote that and they push that, and
right.
It's like there's other things to us.
And let me just say this: having worked at like radio like 20 years ago here in Detroit, having known a lot of promoters, having known artists, things like this, we also have to understand. I know everybody here understands it. We also have to understand the artists are being manipulated. See, this is the other thing. The artists are being manipulated, and they're pushing out largely these negative images. But at the same time, they're being victimized by these messages, negative messages and negative images they're pushing out as well. Go ahead, Sashat.
I'm gonna have to agree with Miss Kenya, and somewhere between Miss Kenya and Miss Kenda.
Mm-hmm.
I think that our sexuality as women, I think that it's been suppressed for too long. And I think that most of it has been suppressed because of the traumas that we have endured as children and as rape victims and, molestation and stuff like that happening to us. And I think that we are at a time where we do need to expose our sexuality, but it's a way that I think that there is a way that we could do it that's better than hip hop culture. You have Megan Thee Stallion, twerking, which is nothing wrong because that is sexuality. But when you have when you learn that aspect first and you don't learn the spirituality of it, then I feel like that's when it becomes dangerous. I don't feel like it's anything wrong with expressing sexuality at all, because we are women, and I believe that is a huge part of our anatomy and power that we possess. When you know who you are as a woman, and when you know your sexuality and your power, then you're able to manipulate matter and make things happen and different stuff like that. So I don't think that is anything wrong with Nicki Minaj exposing her sexuality or anything like that. Even with some of her lyrics, because I do want to tie it into the song lyrics, what you said.
Sure.
Her sexuality coming out in her song lyrics. But I think that we need to, like what Kenya said, where are we with it now? It needs to now we need to now bring it into balance. For so long, we've been learning about, okay, let me just pop it here and twerk it there. Okay, but like actually explain, how do you get to that part? Like, what is the deeper, explain, the sacral chakra and the pleasure points of sexuality, and what it can be used for.
Full spectrum of it. To understand the full spectrum of it beyond just the physical.
Yes, beyond just the physical. So yeah, I'm balanced with it. I think I'm balanced with it. Just to keep it simple.
All right, let me say this here, because I said I would interject Lil Kim. And once again, this is not an attack on Lil Kim, but I do a lot of research. I do a lot of reading. And Lil Kim is hurting. Lil Kim is hurting also. She's been through a lot. There was a interview with Newsweek magazine back in June of 2000 called A Whole Lot of Lil Kim. And in the and yeah, I listened to Lil Kim back in the day, you know, in the Junior Mafia and Diddy, all that stuff, right? But even listening in, I knew it was something. I knew it was something. It something just wasn't right there. All right, but she talked about it. So in this article, it talks about how her parents getting divorced when she was 8 years old. She suffered from her father's disapproval. She said, it was like I could do nothing right. Everything about me was wrong. My hair, my clothes, just me. And then it goes on to say, after the divorce, she tried to stay with her mother, but money was tight and her father won custody. Lil Kim said, I always knew my child would be somebody, Lil Kim's mother said. Okay. Quote, she would always be the one in her class who looked the most like nobody else. Her father never understood, and that hurt her, end quote. So it goes on to talk about, Lil Kim talks about at 14, she left home. She fell into the glamorous life, dangerous world of drugs and pimps, running errands for drug dealers, things like this. But she said, quote, all my life, men have told me I was not pretty enough. All of my life, men have told me I was not pretty enough. Even the men I was dating. And I'd be like, well, why are you with me then? She said, it's always been men putting me down, just like my dad. To this day, when someone says I'm cute, I can't see it. I don't see it no matter what anybody says. So then in the interview, it goes on to talk about transforming herself into the girl from the hood with the blue eyes and the blonde hair. And then she said that I have low self-esteem. She admitted in this interview, I have low self-esteem, and I always have. She said, quote, guys always cheated on me with women who were European looking. You know, the long hair type, really beautiful women that left me thinking, how can I compete with that? Being a regular black girl wasn't good enough. Okay, end quote. And then she said, in referring to the implants, the breast implants she got, she said, quote, that surgery was the most pain I've ever been in my life. But people made such a big deal about it. White women get them every day. It was to make me look the way I wanted to look. It's my body, end quote. Okay. So Avis, you're the sister scholar. You deal with self-empowerment for women. You travel around the world. I see you on Facebook. You're in Africa. You just at the CBC, things like this. I'm sure you've heard similar things like this from women who you deal with. How do we help empower women so they don't feel the need to have to get surgery and get blonde hair and blue eye contacts?
This is so hard because these types of messages are infused throughout our culture. Mm-hmm. In terms of the quote unquote standard of beauty that tends to be predominantly pushed in this culture. And not just, when I say in this culture, let me just be even broader than that. Not just in America. I mean, if you know, in Africa and other continents throughout the world.
On the continent of Africa, yes.
Exactly. Skin lightening creams or billboards are all over the freaking place, okay? Mm-hmm. And so it is amazing to me, the mind job that white supremacy has done on us in terms of having us buy into the lie that the standard of beauty, quote unquote, is a standard that is closest as can possibly be to a European woman. It's absolutely incredible. Mm-hmm. You know, honestly, we have to, as a community, overtly reject that. You know, I think about, and it has to start with how we teach our children from when they're very small. Yeah. I remember when I don't have daughters, but I have sons. And I remember when my boys were small, I would read books to them about their beautiful brown skin and their beautiful curly hair. And I remember when my oldest son was in primary school, he was in kindergarten, and they had an assignment in kindergarten to do a self-portrait, to draw a picture of themselves. And his teacher was telling me that my son was looking all over because he wanted to find the crayon that specifically said beautiful brown on it, because that was his skin tone, beautiful brown.
Right.
Refused to draw that picture until he could find beautiful brown, because I had ingrained in him from the very beginning that his skin was beautiful as it was. And we have to do that with our children, because the messages that they get everywhere else tells them the opposite. But if you tell them, you're the most important person in that child's world, if you tell them from the beginning that their skin is beautiful and that their hair is perfect as it is growing out of their head, guess what? They will believe it. And they will not tolerate other people in their lives, romantically or otherwise, who try to tell them the opposite.
Exactly. People read this article. This is from 19 years ago about Lil Kim, a whole lot of Lil Kim. It's an interview from Newsweek.com, Newsweek magazine, from June 25th, the year 2000, 19 years ago with Lil Kim. And then if you look at, it was a couple years ago, she posted pictures of her on Instagram. It was in 2016, 4 years ago. They talked about this on News One Now with Roland Martin. It was a sister who was sitting in. It wasn't Avis sitting in. It was somebody else, because Lil Kim posted pictures of herself on Instagram, and she looked almost white with blonde hair. Okay. And if you look at the article from newsone.com called, and I'm coming to you in just a second, Kenya, Lil Kim's selfies dredge up colorism debate. Lil Kim's selfies dredge up colorism debate. And they show the before and after of Lil Kim, right? So this is her with the blonde hair and looking almost white, but she's hurting. She's dealing with something. And a lot of our sisters are dealing with this. And this is one of the reasons why we have to have different standards of beauty as well. So Kenya, how do you deal? I know you deal with women, you deal with relationships and self-empowerment. How do you deal with things like this in your practice with the Juju Mama Love Academy? And anything else you want to interject as well?
No, I just have to say I have that concern myself, always being on television, and like, these are braids, but always needing to present in a certain way, to my audience, to my clients. Most of my clients are of European descent.
Okay.
As in my coaching field, not at the academy, that's mostly African American, but I deal with that too. I feel like, oh my gosh, my hair has to be a certain way in order to present, in order to be invited to present. And then I look at television, I say, well, where are the newscasters or the women who have a hair that is a natural hair on the television? If I can't find one, guess what? I'm going to get some crochet and I'm going to be ready to present. But so I can't speak on the hair part, but what I can speak on is the patterns part. So the concept that, like, my father did the same thing as Nicki Minaj or Lil Kim or everybody. As we said, the whole culture is dysfunctional, but fathers didn't give us enough attention. So what I can share is that the way I support women is I support them in doing a process called lacing. It is a meditation that I contrive to support women in going back and healing their inner girl. My inner girl needs love from daddy. So I take my little inner girl every day to get love from daddy. And I take my clients on these types of journeys so that they can feel that in without filling it in ways that might seem obtuse to others. But, I don't think this is a huge deal, because I know many white women like the Kardashians are doing their bodies the same way to look like black women. So I think the creator wants all experiences. And this is one experience that we're having as a culture in the community that's really sort of very interesting in my book.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then we're going to come back around and get your social media handles and your name of your books and how people can get in contact with you also. And very quickly, everybody watching, share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in also. I forgot to tell you at the beginning, African-American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with us. And also you can donate to the African History Network at paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show, or at our website, the African History Network, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, our website. It helps us to keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, do the Sunday night show. Normally you see me in the studios at 9-10 a.m. the Superstation, WFDF here in Detroit, but they're playing the white man's baseball games, and it preempts the black man's radio show. So I got to do my show from home. Okay, so that's why I'm here. Usually I'm in the radio station studio, but it is what it is. They're not going to stop the information from getting out. Okay, Kenda, go ahead and you can comment on what I talked about Lil Kim and anything else you want to comment on.
Oh, body image.
Body image, yes.
Yes, I have been a thin, skinny girl, just like you, my sister. And I did not have the big booty.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the Black feminine body was the goddess body in my hood. you know, the voluptuous butt, skin color as well vary. Now, I did deal with the idea that I didn't fit in. I was not like attractive to certain men as I got older, because sadly, my father, well, not sadly, but greatly, he told me I was the most beautiful, smart, brilliant, vibrant energy in this world. And I went outside and was shocked when I was not loved in the same way. I was completely floored. And as I've studied, what happens when that angry little boy meets the hurt little girl?
Yes.
Everybody still points fingers, but who's going to start really being honest, like, about their pain? Because there are men taking pills so they can stay alert, if you will, longer. You know, they're staying in the gym. So to their anger and hatred is their own self-hatred as well. That's what I. Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to come to you just a second, Kateria. So I've been studying media for 27 years. My degree is in business administration with a major in marketing, foundation of marketing and psychology. I've been studying media and the effects of media for 27 years. I don't just study African history and culture, things like this. I study media as well. And I write articles also. So some people who've been following me for some time know this, right? There was an article that I wrote back in May 9th, 2016, called Lupita Nyong'o Explains Why She Prayed to God to Make Her Light Skinned. Okay, so Lupita Nyong'o, who we first saw in 12 Years a Slave, very beautiful sister from Kenya, and she plays Nakia in Black Panther. And she talked about how when she was a child, she prayed to God to make her light skinned. She prayed that when she woke up in the morning, she would be light skinned. She's grown up in Africa, and they're dealing with these European concepts of beauty. But in this article, and it's also at yourblackworld.net, because I wrote it on my platform, and I wrote articles for yourblackworld.net. But very quickly here, ABC World News Tonight, the Thursday, April 23rd, 2014 edition, with Diane Sawyer, they talked about Lupita Nyong'o being named by People magazine as the most beautiful person. All right. And she was on the cover. They did a black dial, white dial test with Dr. Deidre Royster, who's a PhD in sociology from New York University. And they dealt with girls of different races, 5 years old to 8 years old, African-American, white, Asian girls. And they showed different dials. And the girls continued to choose the white blonde hair dial as the pretty dial. When asked, when Dr. Deidre Royster was asked by Deborah Roberts, who was the reporter handling that segment, Deborah Roberts asked, what does that say to you about what message they're getting, these little girls, including African-American girls? Dr. Deidre Royster, who's a white female, replied, blonder, lighter, more European features are still seen as the most desirable, end quote. Okay, who we going? Kateria. We're going to Kateria next? Go ahead, Kateria.
So, well, to speak on the Lil Kim thing as well as this.
Sure, go ahead.
I mean, it's just, I'm an astrologer. So, and I did want to correct you. I'm not an astrologist. An astrologist is somebody that simply studies astrology, but an astrologer practices professionally.
Right, astrologer, yeah, sorry.
With words too, so you know.
Right.
But no, nevertheless, when it comes to, you know, the times that we are in, we're coming out of a 12,000 year cycle of the precession of Capricorn. And under that 12,000 year precession of Capricorn, it was all about white dominance. Okay, it was about the ice people. Capricorn is a sign that takes place during the winter time. So I don't get so caught up in the things that are happening on earth, because we're just a part of these earthly cycles and these universal cycles, and we're playing along, you know? So I am happy that that cycle is coming to an end and coming to a close, and we have stepped into a 12,000 year procession of the sign of Cancer, which takes
Right.
in the summertime, and we're experiencing this, you know, global warming and all of these things, and it's all about the woman, and it's all about the cosmic mother, the Black woman. So all I'm here to do is express and shine her light to the best of my own human capabilities at this particular time. It is definitely unfortunate that people feel that, you know, white features are more beautiful. I myself never felt that way. I myself always wanted to be darker skinned. I love my knotty hair. I don't even twist my locks to be super flat because I like the puff. You know, my hairstylist is like, you don't want them twisted? Nah, just manipulate them a little bit so they won't be stuck together, you know? And yeah, I never really understood why people would want to look more European, because I always saw it as being a bit recessive. And I mean, I don't have major judgments towards other, you know, races or anything. I know that there's some very beautiful Europeans, very beautiful, all kinds of people, but I love being a Black woman, and I feel that Black features are the most beautiful features.
Right.
I am happy that there was a I forget the name of the president in the congressman in Africa who discontinued all skin bleaching products, but I was really happy to hear that.
In Rwanda, Kagame in Rwanda has done that.
Right.
Go ahead.
So I'm happy that, you know, that happened, and that's, you know, teaching us to embrace our skin. And I think that more of us who represent being Black, you know, with our skin, with our hair, with our features, whatever it is, that we just need to do it and exemplify it at the highest extent, at the highest degree. And not just with the physical, though, with our mental and spiritual capabilities. That whole Black girl magic statement should not be taken lightly, because you know, Black women heal me all the time. I go to Black women for healing. They have a certain connection to source and deeper roots that help to restore us. And it is unfortunate that I feel it's unfortunate that we get so caught up on the physical beauty of who we are. It definitely has plagued me in my life and caused a lot of drama in my life. And even when it comes to the sex, like for me, I used to be a very sexually explicit young woman. I even was going to start a page called Kateria Exposed. And then I kept getting, like, my pictures kept getting taken down on social media. But it was the creator teaching me, when it comes to my science, astrology, Scorpio rules sex, but Scorpio also rules things being private and things being sacred. So for me, just being aligned with the way that the creator has designed things, sex should be private and it should be sacred. That doesn't mean that it should stop you from being a sexual person,
Right.
but it should be demonstrated in a certain fashion. I mean, just recently I put up some very sexy pictures of myself, but I am still clothed, but you can totally see in my eyes that I am a sexual person, you know?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
With the overly explicit sexuality that our women have been showing, I feel like it has put us back, and it's at a deficit at this particular time. Now, when it comes to the Lil Kim situation, it's very painful to look at her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an empath, so I can actually feel her pain.
She's hurting.
Yeah, it hurts being in her own body. And I do hope that she seeks out psychological help, as I hope for all of us to seek out psychological help when we are dealing with certain ailments and, you know, disillusions within our minds, you know. And it's very unfortunate what has happened to her. And I know that when she gets older and she's on her, you know, transitioning bed, that she's going to have a lot of regrets. But I definitely have learned a lot from her experience. I'm so grateful for it, because I myself went to get plastic surgery. You know, it was to look more like a Black woman, or quote unquote Black woman. I'm good now. But I did that because, yeah, she was so gorgeous, you know. I did that because of the fact that we put so much emphasis on physical beauty. How many Black women have died on these tables trying to fit a certain beauty standard, getting big breasts, big butts, and all of these different things? And when it comes to the Brazilian butt lift, it is the highest ranking deadly plastic surgery procedure for us to get. If we put emphasis on other things of the power of the woman, I feel that in not just the sexual parts, we would be, you know, in a competition to become more enlightened, and we'll be putting our energy elsewhere, that we wouldn't have these women dying on tables trying to fit a certain beauty standard. And the beauty standards change. They change with every Pluto cycle. Right now, Pluto is in a sign of Capricorn, and slowly but surely, we started to see that the thigh gap was the most appealing. Now, next in a couple of years, Pluto is going to Aquarius, and that's going to make everybody sensationalize the thinner bodies, and people are going to, right, I mean, you know, and it's going to make people appeal more to androgynous physiques and bodies and way of being. So Grace Jones is going to be praised. So it's like, why are you sitting up here doing permanent damage to yourself to fit a beauty standard that's going to shift and change? We just need to go deeper. And I mean, those are my sentiments. I know that they are real because it's the message from source. Scorpio rules sexuality. It rules things that are sacred. It rules things that are private. And we need to align with a higher expression in the notion of all of the signs.
Exactly. All right, thanks. Let's go to Sashat, and then we're going to go back around with closing remarks, and you can let us know about your books, social media platforms, etc. But the other question is, who gets to determine what the styles are? Who gets to determine what the fashion is? Who gets to determine that men's suits have to have tight pants and they flood?
There we go.
Who gets to decide that? Okay.
Anybody decided that?
Yeah, who gets to decide that? All right, Sashat, go ahead.
I'll tell you who gets to decide it, because this is the industry that I work in, and I get paid to make people look beautiful, and I get paid to give women and men confidence. In the fashion industry and in the beauty industry, it's not uncommon to me, because I get to see the low self-esteem from beautiful Black women all the time.
Right.
So with Lil Kim, you know, what she exposed about herself, it's not surprising and shocking to me. And it's really due to lack of representation. And that's the reason why I got into the fashion industry, because when you deal with marketing and branding, all you see is the European standard of beauty, which it is nothing wrong with the European standard of beauty for them, because they see their women as beautiful. So, you know, they should market and advertise their women as beautiful. But when it comes to African American women and men, we're just now learning about marketing and advertising. About a year ago, I seen it was a natural hair advertisement on the side of a bus. So we're just now getting to the point where our standard of beauty is being broadcasted across the world. And the more that we see that, the more that our children see that, because I have a 4-year-old son, and I show him images of people that look like him, because it all deals with what you see on your subconscious mind daily. Marketing and advertising in the fashion industry, with Gucci, Balmain, Fendi, all you see is them branding European women, making them look beautiful with makeup and different stuff like that. And that's because that is their look. Now, when it comes to our look, it's really a matter of who is doing these things for us. And that's why I took the initiative to get into the fashion industry and show us, you know, that we are beautiful. I tell women all the time when I'm doing fashion shows, like if I have a show coming up and I'm picking people for my collection, the number one thing that they always ask me is, how should I wear my hair? And I look at them and I'm like, what do you mean, how should you wear your hair? Natural. Like, I want you to be you when I picked you. And they always feel like they have to change themselves because they're not confident with who they are as a woman and as a person. And I'm like, yo, you absolutely beautiful. I picked you because I like the way that you looked when you were walking down the runway as your natural being. And it's really because we just really don't have the images and the representations. They're beating us on marketing and advertising when it comes into the fashion industry. And if you want people to be confident about themselves, you have to show them. So when I work with women in the fashion industry, and you know, I work with up and coming models, I always tell them, I say, you know, if you're gonna get a garment made, let's do a photo shoot. And the reason why I do a photo shoot is because I need to show you how beautiful you are, so you can always see how beautiful you are and represent how beautiful you are. So in a nutshell, to me, I just think that, and I can't really say why, but a lot of women's problem is because they don't see it on a daily basis because they're so used to seeing European standards. If we see it on a daily basis and get it into our subconscious mind, just like how we listen to music on a daily basis or how we're on our phone on a daily basis, then we'll start to recognize and realize, like, wait a minute, Black skin is beautiful. Black natural hair is beautiful. So We just got to get our marketing game up.
Well, and you know, this is one of the reasons why I created the African History Network back in 2009. Like I said, my background is in marketing, and as African history and culture, it gives us our foundation, our values, our interests, and our principles. This influences how we see ourselves. It influences our self-esteem, our self-development, our self-worth. It influences our economics and our politics. I'm going to go to Avis in just a second here for closing remarks. We'll go around, but I'll show you this. Let's see. So this, okay. So this was the picture I was showing you. This is Lil Kim before and after. Looks like two different people, you know, but this is what happens when you don't have that foundation.
Yeah.
African history and culture give you the values, the interests, and your principles. This is what happens. So I hope she gets the help that she needs, you know, because you go back and look at that interview from the year 2000. So she posted the picture on the right. She posted the picture in 2016. Okay. But you go back and look at that interview from the year 2000 with Newsweek magazine, you saw the seeds of it right there. All right. Okay. So closing remarks, Avis. So give us your social media, your books, how people can get in contact with you to book you to do fantastic presentations, and your closing remarks.
Absolutely. So just first of all, in terms of getting in contact with me, probably the easiest to remember is blackwomenlead.com. There you can find information about my book and signed up for my list. And my book is called How Exceptional Black Women Lead. So definitely encourage.
Because Roland has to remind you to get the name of the book too and plug it too. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also there is if you click through, you can get more information about me and put in requests for me to speak.
Okay. Blackwomenlead.com.
Blackwomenlead.com. Absolutely.
Go ahead with anything else.
Yeah, but final thoughts, you know, I think that it is, when I look at the picture, it's the two pictures that you showed there of Lil Kim, to me, it's really devastating. It's a tragedy because here she was, a beautiful woman as she was created. And unfortunately, she could not see that herself. And no matter how many people see it and maybe could have told her and maybe did tell her, the people that she cared most about didn't tell her. And therefore, she didn't believe it. And to me, that is the most tragic part of that scenario. And, you know, you can't roll back time. But when I look at that, I think that she, right now, she doesn't even look, she looks less human even. You know what I mean? It's just very sad how she's.
It's like kind of like a doll or something like that. It looks like almost.
Oh, it's not, and it's not anywhere near as attractive as she was in her natural form.
Exactly. And if people actually read that article, Lil Kim Selfies Dredge Up Colorism Debate, it has the 8-minute segment from News One Now with Roland Martin where they go in and deal with this. And they spoke with Aabab Blay, who's a PhD and author of the book, One Drop, Shifting the Lens on Race. Okay. And they discussed this. So when you read the article, they have the clip there. Okay. Was that it, Avis?
Yeah, well, I'll just say one last thing. Okay. Like some of the sisters here, you know, it's interesting because I grew up with almost a sort of a different scenario where, like some ladies here, I wanted a more voluptuous figure. I would always sit out in the summertime with baby oil on my skin, trying to get darker. So my standard of beauty was very much different than, you know, this sort of European standard of beauty, you know, but as I've matured, you know, I do want, you know, I work out and everything. I do my squats, y'all, and all that stuff. But I love my full lips. I love my natural hair. And I cannot imagine myself in any way trying to make myself look like and people who I know have been very oppressive and violent and dangerous against my ancestors. So to me, it is an indicator of self-hate that we need to educate ourselves out of.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Kenya, okay, so last remarks, and let people know, Kenya, about your new book and how they can find out more about Juju Mama Love Academy and I think Progressive Love Academy, things like that.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. My new book is, of course, Up Level Communication. You can find it at my website, Progressive Love Academy. I'm on Instagram at Progressive Love Academy. I'm very happy about Nicki Minaj and Lil Kim or anybody coming out and sharing and expressing that they have these concerns, maybe more persons of African descent will come and have self-help coaching. I don't want to say psychotherapy because I don't think it works, but either way, whatever methodology that you use. We have several books. Change Your Man, which is talking about how to change your internal man. A lot of us have an internal man, even as women, because we were taught to be so masculine. So it talks about how to gain some of that femininity back. I have another book, Manifesting Marriage. I've been married for 24 years. I have 2 husbands at this moment. We have books about the art of open relating.
So I mean, you can't just say 2 husbands and just skip past that.
I know, she just went right past that really quick.
I thought everybody knew that.
Well, I know that, but everybody watching doesn't know. So just explain that for a minute. I've interviewed you before, so I already know that. But explain that for a minute.
Well, we think of it as an empowering tool to move community closer when we can love as we wish. We don't believe in ownership of one's body, ownership of somebody's sexuality. My husbands don't own me, and I have several partnerships in the community, and they have partnerships, and I'm friends with those women. It cuts down on the disconnect between women, the disconnect between men, and all of the catty infighting to share people in our community. So that's one thing that we work on.
You're talking about polyamory.
I'm talking about polyamory. We are
as opposed to polygamy.
Oh no, we don't do polygamy. That's part of the patriarchy.
So polygamy is polygamy, usually polygyny is a man having multiple wives.
Right.
Well, polyamory is men and women having multiple. It's not just multiple partners; it's relationships.
Yeah, polyamory means many loves, and it means we can actually create community again, where people are not segmented based on who owns whom. So yes, you can find that all of that at Progressive Love Academy. Again, we have 14 books, 15,000 hours of coursework online. We've been doing this for 14 years, and I love this topic. Thank you so much for having me on.
And when you talk about this, because you and I talked about this in the past, and I'm just like one woman. I don't have one now, but I just do one woman at a time. But you talk about how you don't force that type of lifestyle on people, but you're talking about those who want to experience or learn more about it. You deal with that. We've had a discussion before. You said if somebody's happy in a monogamous relationship, you're not trying to force this upon people.
No, I actually am the opposite. I enforce that people who are coming as sexually exclusive, because they're not monogamous, humans are not a monogamous species, but people who are sexually exclusive at the moment, I enforce that they do not open up to polyamory unless they know how to relate. And that starts with relating to self, then relating to others, relating to one's sensuality. But speaking of sensuality, all of these books, all of our works have come from the root chakra. If your root chakra is not open, your sensuality is your creative portal. All of the energy flows up to crown from root. So we believe in the sensuality piece. And I actually think the girl's hair is a little creative. I think African-American women, my hair's been natural since I was 18. But we are very, very creative in creating our styles. So some of that is dysfunction. Some of that is pure ingenuity.
Right. And lastly, and I'm going to come to Kenda in just a minute here. Usually with the change of the seasons, you and Carl usually do a tantra session, a live tantra session. Okay. So I've seen it before. All right. So and autumnal equinox is coming up September 20th or 21st this year. So you all have a tantra session coming up that you want to tell us about?
Yes, we do. Every year for past 14 years, we go by the seasons. So we utilize the 4 equinoxes, solstices to delineate the time to do different things at different times of the year so we can manifest what we want. So we use sexuality to manifest what we want. And we're September 21st, we start 4 adult initiations. One is the blue butterfly. One is one we call Wakanda. Wakanda helps you initiate into the 9 archetypes that you are. You are a walking, living God, period. And you can create whatever you want on this planet. So that's the Wakanda initiation. Then we have one for men, the peaceful warriors. And then we have one for people who like to use the moon, which is the 13 moons. But yes, those are all including Tantra showcases. We do that all year.
Are you going to do the live Tantra sessions online?
No, We get naked. We show people the actual indigenous form of sexuality, sensuality. You know, we show women how to have real orgasms. Orgasm is not just clitoral; it's the entire 9 chakra system. So yes, that's what we've been doing online for the past.
Okay, so what date is that tantra session coming up? That live tantra session?
So, I don't know. We only
you haven't said it yet.
We only share that with initiates now.
Okay.
All of those that we've done in the past are available at progressiveloveacademy.com.
Okay.
Now
That's
we
good.
only showcase tantra to initiates.
Okay, that's right. I mean, that makes sense because some people ain't ready for that. Some people, you have to go through levels to be able to understand that. And it's not pornography either. That's the other thing people have to understand. It's totally, I've seen it before. It's not pornography. It's something on a whole nother level. Okay, so people have to understand that. So progressiveloveacademy.com. No problem. Okay, Kenda, go ahead with, just quickly, Kenya, you said Wakanda. What does the word Wakanda mean?
We use the word Wakanda, W-A-K-E, like awake. So we changed the name, but we're building Wakanda on this planet. Wakanda is a place where people heal each other, where our vibranium is strong, our inner archetypes are strong. You know, we understand astrology, we understand physiology, we understand manifestation. We are gods on earth. That is Wakanda. We're building Wakanda inside of the Western culture and as a different aspect of it.
So people that know me know I do like extensive presentations dealing with the film Black Panther.
Really? Oh my gosh.
The word Wakanda comes from the Sioux Indian Native American language and Omaha Ponca language, and it means possesses secret powers.
Oh my
which is a lot like Black Girl Magic. But Wakanda is also a Bantu word as well. Okay, and Bantu is a group of 500 African languages spoken in South Africa, going into Kenya, going into Cameroon.
Michael, I felt so connected to the word Wakanda, and I thought it was just from the movie.
No, Wakanda is a real word. There's a Wakanda water park in Wisconsin. Has been there for years.
I'm so excited.
And I've researched that. And when you look at the historical markers, they talk about the early Indian mound builders, and we know who the original Indian mound builders were. These were the Khoisan. Sure. There's schools named Wakanda across the country, like in Nebraska. There's a school named Wakanda as well. So Wakanda is an ancient word, okay? And we see that Wakanda is also a Bantu word. We see that the word Kanda in the Kikongo language means family, and Kanda is in Kikongo is a Bantu language as well. So it's deep. People really have to understand that the film deals with African history, culture, language, spiritual systems.
Yeah.
I had to do months of research to be able to do my presentations dealing with the film Black Panther.
But Michael, we found the 9 archetypes that are the basic 9 African deities in the movie Wakanda. So that's
the Ennead. That's the Ennead. And then and just very quickly, so I had to research the 52-year history of the Black Panther comic book also to be able to do the presentation. The main deities in Wakanda are called the Orisha. So they're Thoth. This is Bast, which comes from Bastet, comes out of ancient Kemet. You have
there's Shango, who is the Black Panther.
But they have those in the comic book. Those deities coming from ancient Kemet in the comic book as well. All right, Ken.
I have to listen to that. Thank you.
No problem. Go ahead with the last comments in your social media platforms, websites, things like that.
Awesome. Okay, my name is Kenda Bell, and I can be found on all social platforms. Kenya is my mentor, and I am a staff coach there at Progressive Love Academy. And for all the scary people, I am sexually exclusive with my husband. I have one husband and he has one wife.
Right.
So there is so much more there. I am a proud coach for the Wakanda system, and I teach my clients how to manifest joy out of any circumstances. So you can find me working with Kenya, or you can also go to my website, which is www.kendabell.com, and you can work directly with me, and you can also get my novel, For Every Love There Is a Reason, where I showcase all of the choice paradigms that ladies and gentlemen learn at the Academy as well. And this was a pleasure. And know your power, claim your power. Mothers, talk to your daughters for real, have real conversations of ownership out of power rather than fear.
Absolutely. KendaBell.com. Notice all these women are entrepreneurs also. All right, let's go to Kateria. Kateria, last remarks and your social media information as well.
I just want to say, this is an incredible panel that you put together here, Michael.
Oh, thanks.
Definitely have heard of all of you women, and I'm just so honored to be on this panel with you, ladies. And
talk up a little bit. Your volume is low.
Are you guys able to hear me?
I can hear you better now.
I feel like I'm talking loud. My Venus in Sagittarius is booming. But yeah, I was just saying, I've heard of all of you women, and I love the works that you guys do, and I appreciate the works that you guys are doing. And yes, just continue. I love it. So nevertheless, in closing, when it comes to the work that I do, you guys can reach out to me, anybody that's interested in getting an astrological reading. I specialize in all kinds of astrological readings. There's too many charts to list out. I also teach astrology online. I teach basic, beginners, and intermediate astrology. I am on Instagram under Kateria Knows, YouTube, Kateria Knows, Facebook, Kateria Knows. The best way to contact me is through my website, astrologicschool.com, astrologicschool.com. You can send me a message through there if you want to book a session with myself. And what I really do with astrology is I convey the messages of spirit to you, translate them in order for you to understand what spirit is aiming to convey to you, because spirit does not speak language as far as English or any language, but there are specific ways that it does speak to you that many people aren't really fully aware of. Now, when it comes to my closing sentiments on Nicki Minaj, Lil Kim, and the standards of European beauty or what have you, is that I'm just happy. Like all of our sisters mentioned here, I'm happy that Nicki Minaj is speaking about this. Definitely feel like it's going to open up more people to come forward. I was in an abusive relationship and I had to get out of it. And I had to even realize where I was being like kind of psychologically abused, or my children were kind of being like manipulated mentally to view me in a certain way. And that's something that's not, spoken of as very insidious and is very harmful at the same time. And I'm so happy that you set this platform up for us to speak about this. And so I just hope that Nicki continues to get her healing and do some inner soul searching. I'm happy that she announced that she is retiring so that she can focus on herself and heal herself and really focus on her marriage and wherever that's going to take her. And when it comes to Lil Kim, I really hope that she gets the help that she is looking for in her life and she is healed and restored. And to all these young girls who are out there watching these women, I hope that you are seeing, the issues so you don't follow in their footsteps. Even K. Michelle talked about the plastic surgery and how it was making her sick. Now even Kim Kardashian is saying that she has like some type of autoimmune issues such as lupus or something like that. And we are coming to find out that these, plastic surgeries are causing a lot of health issues. So let's learn from their mistakes, but still send them love. I still love Nicki, Lil Kim, all of them, because I know that being a human being is difficult. It's not the easiest journey to embark on. So no judgment towards them on their journeys. They have to go through their experiences so that they can come to their own enlightenment. And when it comes to the European standards of beauty, I love what Sashat was stating. This, they're promoting their beauty, what they deem to be beautiful. We need to simply promote what we want to see. Like we should not be going around talking about what we hate or what we don't like. We need to simply speak about what we love and who we are and shining our light. I don't have anything against anybody. I'm just going to simply express who I am. And if people attract to that, then those are the people that I am supposed to assist on earth. And those are my closing sentiments.
Absolutely. Okay, Sashat, go ahead.
Just in closing, I'll keep it real simple. First of all, thank you for having me, Mr. Michael.
Oh, you're welcome.
This panel was definitely, Egypt wants to pop up at the end. This panel was definitely very, very strong with a lot of ashe and a lot of power. Definitely some powerful women, intelligent women. I think that for me, this really all ties into one thing that I like to promote the most, which is self-love, whether it be being in, you know, abusive relationships or, you know, dealing with body positivity or, you know, how you look and stuff like that. Just loving on ourselves more, because if we can't love ourselves more, then we won't be able to see ourselves as beautiful, and we can't, you know, learn to love anybody else in relationships or love the way that we look, and we may hate on other women and different stuff like that. So for me, you know, I just got self-love out of this. And you can follow me on social media. Follow me on my Instagram. I am Sashat. That is IMSASHAT. And I have a link to my fashion page on my clothing line. So yeah, this is a very good discussion, and I appreciate all of it. Definitely.
All right, no problem. Well, look, ladies, thanks for coming on. I know y'all have other things to do. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule for sharing this information. And you all take care. Have a good night, okay?
Night.
All right, peace.
All right, peace and blessings to everyone.
No problem. All right, guys, watching the African History Network show. Hey, be sure to follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Follow me on my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. I will be in, so I'm on the Black Agenda Tour with Michi X and Jice Johnson. We will be in Orlando, Florida, October 12th, weekend of October 12th. Visit theblack-agenda-on-tour.com, theblack-agenda-on-tour.com for more information. Come on out. I'll be doing a presentation. I'll be on the panel that Saturday. And then September 27th through the 29th, Friday, September 27th through Sunday, September 29th, I am in Houston, Texas for the All Black National Convention. Visit allblacknationalconvention.com, allblacknationalconvention.com. The All Black National Convention that Dr. Boyce Watkins does. So I am on the panel that Sunday, 9:45 a.m., dealing with power and politics, okay, and how it impacts African Americans. And I'll have my DVDs there also. So I'll be there all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So visit allblacknationalconvention.com, allblacknationalconvention.com for more information. I'll see you there in Houston, Texas. That weekend of the 27th through the 29th. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization. And then also African American business owners, email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. A current promotion, get 3 months for the price of one. And we can help you reach thousands of potential customers. We take your 30-second, 60-second commercial, put it into the audio podcast of our Sunday night shows and the broadcast we do throughout the week. And we actually promote your show during the our Facebook Live broadcast also. So email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Okay, Kim King, how you doing, Kim? Naya. You love the t-shirt. Yeah, this comes from the brothers at powerinoneclothing.com or PIOclothing.com, PIOclothing.com. And I got to talk to them about having me endorse their t-shirts, because every time I wear this, people ask, where can I get it from? Yoni. So hopefully we have Yoni, Gigi, Deborah, Janice, Camille, just a few of the people watching. All right, so everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Be sure to follow us here at the African History Network. Also, you can donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show. Also, or at our website, africanhistorynetwork.com. You can set up for a recurring donation if you like, if you want to, as well. So that helps us to keep doing the research, stay on the air, broadcast, helps to cover expenses. A lot of times we have to pay to travel to different events and speak at different events. The lecture that I mentioned dealing with the film Black Panther, that's available at our website, africanhistorynetwork.com, africanhistorynetwork.com. A Black Panther analysis, African culture, history, and Afrofuturism. Okay, that's an almost 3-hour presentation that I've done dealing with the film Black Panther analysis, African culture, future, and African culture, history, and Afrofuturism. Okay, that's at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, guys, look, hey, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So we control the radius of a man's thoughts. You can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.